Welcome to freshmind.com. My name is Eric and this is part 4 of our basic calculator. In part 1 we modeled it, in part 2 we created some UV texture maps, part 3 we used the texture maps to create our textures, and then we applied it to our model, and now we need to create a light so that we can do a final render. Before we create the light, let's create a surface for our calculator to sit on so it's not floating in mid-air. I'm going to create a polygon plane. I'm going to scale that out. I'm going to leave all these divisions there even though we don't need them. I'm going to leave them there for now because it will help us to adjust our light. And I'll show you what I mean here in a short while. I'll go to a front view and lower our tabletop down to the bottom of our calculator. I'm going to right click on the tabletop, go down to Assign New Material, go up to Blend. I'm going to leave everything to default settings, but I'm just going to lower the color to make it dark. That way our calculator stands out a little better. Now I'm going to create a light. I'm going to go up to my shelf, click on the Renderings tab. I'm going to click on Spotlight. Let me lower that, raise that up actually. I'm going to press the number 7 on my keyboard. That way we can see where the light's shining. Now I'm going to press the letter T. That gives me 2 handles. One handle allows me to tell Maya where to point the light, and then the other handle tells Maya where to put the light. Raise it up a little more, something like that. I'll go to a top view so you can see where I'm putting my light. Okay, let me bump up the intensity on my light to show you. Okay, with all these divisions on our tabletop, it allows us to see the light pretty good of what it's doing. I'm going to select the tabletop, go to my channel box. I'm going to lower this to no divisions, or just one division. And as you can see, you can't even really see the light. You can't see what it's doing. So when you're adjusting your light on a surface, it really helps if your surface has some divisions. So let me adjust that so you can see what it's doing. So there's 4. See how it's kind of just really spread out. Add a couple more divisions, it gets better and better. If we keep going. So try to have some divisions when you're adjusting your light. Let's see, I'm going to go and change my light's attributes to, where it says decay rate, I'm going to change it to linear. Now I'm going to bump up my intensity. That's actually pretty good. I'm going to adjust my cone angle so the light is more spread out over our table. Let's give our light some color. I'm just going to give it some yellow. Usually indoor lights, incandescent, I always give it kind of a yellowish or orangish tint. I'm going to add some shadows, so I'm going to go down to the shadow section. Use ray trace shadows. Light radius, I'm going to make it 10. Now 0 makes some really sharp shadows. The higher the number, the softer the shadow. So I'm just going to make it 10 so it's not completely harsh but somewhat soft. Shadow rays, I'll make it 32. The more shadow rays you have, the better the shadow is going to look. The less you have, the quicker the rendering time will be, but the shadows won't look as great. So I'm going to put it on 32. And I think we're ready for a test render. Let's go to my render settings, change it to mental ray. Change the quality to production. Now you could leave it on preview or draft to speed up the rendering just to do your testing, but since this is a simple setup, I'm just going to go ahead and put it on production. Close, and let's zoom in there kind of close and do a render. I'll pause this and then start it back up when it gets closer to being done. Okay, there's our first render. It looks a little washed out. Our light is too bright, so we need to make our light not as bright. The numbers on the buttons look a little blurred, and so does the Fresh Mile logo up here. It looks a little blurred. Other than that, it looks okay. So let's we got some shadows going right there if you look around the display. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that out. Let's go to our light attributes, the intensity, maybe 60. That's probably good. Zoom back out, just kind of look at it. I like that. So we knocked our light